Yo, what's up guys? I hope y'all are doing great. Now, before the video starts, I have a question for all of you guys. The question is, am I going bald? Leave me a comment in the comments below. Call me a baldy if you think I'm gonna go bald in the future. Okay. Anyways, this video is about what is the best predictor of success. So, the answer, I'm going to give it to you right now, in my opinion at least, is attitude. I think attitude is the best predictor of success, but most of this video is going to be about like intelligence and why intelligence is not the best predictor of success, which many would assume it is, which is why I'm making this video. So anyways, first we're going to go into why intelligence is not the best predictor of success, and I'm gonna read some articles along with you guys. So I already took a look at this one. This is Are High IQ People More Successful? A modern look at term and study of the gifted. So this is an article about this study mostly, and the gifted in the study are participants which had a much higher than average intelligence. See, it says somewhere here that a high intelligence, right here, on a standardized exam such as this one, the average IQ score is 100. Anything above 140 is considered high or genius level IQ. So 140 is really high, guys. It says here, about 2% of the population scores 130 or above. So to score 140 is even more rare than that, right? It's less than 2%. It's probably like 1%, top 1 percentile. And that's considered higher genius level IQ because there's so much variability. Like people who are like 130 and below, 130 is like the 85th percentile, I think, around that. They are not even considered high intelligence, right? Like even a 135 is not considered high intelligence or genius level intelligence, even though it's like quite a lot higher than 100, which is average, right? And okay, so it's important to remember that IQ testing has both limitations and biases. It measures a specific range of mental abilities. Not all experts agree on a standard definition of intelligence. Some tests may be more reliable than others. It's also possible that IQ scores can change over time. This is interesting. Many factors can affect IQ test scores, including access to education, cultural factors, and then overall health and nutrition. See, this is a big one that's really leveled out the IQ variability between all people in developed and wealthy nations over the last like 40-50 years, maybe slightly beyond that, maybe like 100 years, I don't know, since after the Second World War, I guess. The standard of living started rising really rapidly, maybe even slightly before, I guess even before that. Since World War One, the standard of living has been increasing a lot. People are living way more comfortably than they used to, but what comes along with that is that people have much better access to better nutrition, so they're actually able to get the nutrients that they need to get their IQ. So what tests often miss are other skills that contribute to intelligence, such as emotional understanding and interpersonal abilities. See, these two right here, they are way more important to success than intelligence ever will be. Because sure, somebody can be intelligent, but if they're antisocial and they're like really poor at emotionally regulating, number one, they'll struggle with impulse control and getting things done, and they can easily fall into alcoholism and these sorts of things. And then excluding that, just not being able to work with other people really limits somebody's capabilities and potential in their life. Like, you have to know how to work with other people because that's how this whole society was built. People have been working together to do things for forever. Like even something like a computer is a process of many people working together. Somebody works to make the power grid, for example. That's what goes into the computer and powers it, and you need that constantly. Another person designed the computer, another person was working on opening the factories, and etc., etc. Some guy's doing accounting for the people who make the computer. Like everything that is of value in our society was basically built by people who work together. Now that's not entirely true. Sure, there's some exceptions, like Isaac Newton, who's just like a super genius, whatever. He's one of those 2% guys that can do the things most people can't. But just talking about for the general person, like it's you need to have interpersonal skills and social skills in order to live up to your potential. And even a guy like Isaac Newton, right? He's not guaranteed to discover something new or crazy or something that's going to absolutely revolutionize the world. So it would be better it would raise his chances of success if he also improved his emotional understanding, interpersonal abilities. And from what I heard, he actually was like pretty poor at those things. So maybe he could have achieved a lot more with those things. I don't know. So anyways, characteristics of high IQ people. Not really interested in that. I'll leave both these articles that I'm going to read down the link in the description if you want to read them for yourself. I'm going to skip over this part. When IQ testing was introduced, researchers examined whether high IQ test scores were linked to more than just doing well in school. In the early 1920s, psychologist Louis Terman began investigating the emotional and development skills of kids with genius IQ scores. So those are the top 1%. He chose 1,500 children in California between the ages of 8 and 12 who had an average IQ of 150. Of these children, 80 had scored over 170. Over many years, Terman tracked the children and found that most were socially and physically well adjusted. Not only were they academically successful, but they also tended to be healthier, stronger, taller, and less accident prone than a matched set of children with average IQs. After Terman's death in 1956, other psychologists decided to carry on the research, which was dubbed the Terman Study of the Gifted. The study continues to this day and is the longest running longitudinal study in history. So, how did Terman's original participants turn out? When looking at the group as a whole after 35 years of study, Terman reported the subject's average income in 1955 was $33,000 compared to a national average of $5,000. 2/3 had earned college degrees. A large number had gone on to attain postgraduate and professional degrees. Many of these had become doctors, lawyers, business executives, and scientists. More than 50 became faculty members at colleges and universities. Still, Terman noted that most pursued more humble occupations, including police officers, sailors, typists, and filing clerks. He ultimately concluded that intelligence and achievement were far from perfectly correlated. Okay. Researcher Melita Oden, who carried on Terman's research after his death, decided to compare the 100 most successful subjects from the study, Group A, to the 100 least successful, Group C. While they essentially had the same IQ levels, those in Group C only earned slightly above the average income of the time and had higher rates of alcoholism and divorce than individuals in Group A. According to Oden, the disparity was explained in large part by the psychological characteristics of the groups. Those in Group A tended to exhibit characteristics such as desire to excel, perseverance, prudence and forethought, and willpower. Furthermore, as adults, they exhibited 3 key traits not seen in most Group C subjects: goal orientation, self-confidence, and perseverance. This suggests that while IQ can play a role in life success, personality traits remain the determining feature in realizing that success. So that's exactly what I was saying, and I did have that conclusion before the first time I read the article, but I will admit that I did read this article before I started this video. So yeah, just being transparent about that. A 2016 study supports this conclusion, noting that grades and achievement tests are generally better predictors of life outcomes than IQ tests because they can better measure personality traits that also predict success. That makes sense. So you have to be like disciplined and put your short-term gratifications to the side in order to get the long-term gratifications, to get those things that what they're describing here, goals and grades and achievements. And so that's a better predictor of success. So outcomes for people with high IQ. While a high IQ can't predict success in life, it does reliably predict academic success in school. So I guess that's kind of contrary to the previous point that they just made, where grades are a better predictor, that's the word I was looking for, of life outcome compared to IQ. But I guess you still can be high IQ and have poor grades if you are like really undisciplined to a certain level, I guess. However, it says, in some cases it may be just the opposite. Some studies have suggested that children with exceptional intelligence may be more prone to depression and social isolation than less gifted peers. That's interesting. It's kind of expected when you think about it. Like when we think about like really intelligent people, a lot of the time what comes to mind is like socially awkward and isolated people, right, who don't really like spend time with other people. And we think of like basically like autistic people. And so here it says that basically that stereotype exists for a reason, because statistically they're more likely to be like that, right? So it says they may need support in these and other areas to perform well at school and work. Okay, then another thing it says here is that basically high IQ people are more open to experience, so they're more likely to smoke marijuana and use illegal drugs. So personality trait known as openness to experience might help explain this connection. And that's pretty interesting, I guess. So high IQ basically also makes it more likely that somebody's gonna do things like that, is my understanding of this. So openness is a trait that essentially removes unconscious barriers that would otherwise prevent a person from experiences considered socially unacceptable. Moreover, it is moderately associated with creativity, intelligence, and knowledge. So more intelligent people may be more open to unpopular or unconventional experiences. That could lead them to innovation and success, but it might also lead to riskier behaviors such as substance abuse. Now it gets to emotional intelligence. General or cognitive intelligence is what IQ tests measure, but another indicator of success may be emotional intelligence, or EQ. This is the ability to express and control your emotions, but also to perceive, evaluate, and react to the emotions of others. I'll also add to this that also involves to my understanding, it also involves your personal emotional self-regulation. For example, whether you have an outburst at a bad time, or whether you emotionally regulate yourself so that you can process with your emotions in a more socially acceptable way at a better time. So people with high EQ are often quite successful in careers and relationships regardless of their IQ. Bingo. That's the exact statement that I was hoping to find. I passed over that the first time I read it, but yeah, that basically supports what I said right at the beginning of the video, where your attitude is way more important to life outcome and success than your intelligence ever will be or could be. And attitude bleeds into like all of your areas of life. Your attitudes, from my personal definition, are like your perspectives through which you see the world. For example, some people see themselves as a victim to their circumstances, and they feel like they can't really accomplish anything because of their life circumstances and this sort of thing. And for most people in the Western world, it's not quite true. And basically it's not a mindset that is conducive to success. If somebody has that sort of mindset, unfortunately a lot of people do have that sort of mindset. Too many. Hopefully that can be reduced. That number can be reduced. Your attitudes and perspectives determine on whether you will do things like try to increase your emotional intelligence, because the truth of the matter is that emotional intelligence, EQ, can be improved. It can take years. It should take years, I think, which is years of work. It's not easy, like nothing in life worth having comes easily, but doing things like improving social skills and emotional intelligence, none of those things are easy, because you have to go against what your natural impulses to situations are. You have to think critically instead of thinking subconsciously and automatically. You have to think, oh, is this the best action for me to take, or whatever. And over time you learn and improve with those things. And people who don't put in any effort into those things, they will just, I'm not going to say suffer the consequences, although it is likely that they will suffer consequences as a result of not improving in those areas. They will suffer more hardships in their life down the line than they would otherwise. But what I will definitely say is that they're absolutely missing out on the benefits of working to improve these types of things, because the benefits that you receive from that are more than just financial success, which is the main thing that I have been exploring in this video. There's also success in other realms of life, which was not really my purpose of diving into this topic. But for example, happiness, like success and happiness, just because I know it's cliche to say it, and that it's not necessarily the case that having more money is not going to improve somebody's happiness. But money in and of itself does not make somebody happy. It's only one important factor. People say, and actually, sorry, not people say, studies say that after a certain level of wealth or income is achieved, or money is achieved, then people basically don't really get any more happier from an increase in money past that point, once the certain threshold is met. Of course, when somebody is struggling to afford their rent and pay for their day-to-day life, then an increase in money is absolutely going to make them happier. But once they have that money to basically cover their basic Maslow hierarchy needs and whatever, then more money doesn't make them happier past that point. So improving your emotional intelligence and your social skills will make it easier for you to get more money as one form of success, and it will also allow you to have a much easier time having success in other areas of your life. The most important area being the relationships that you have with other people. That's more important than money. That's more important than how much money you have in your bank account. Because if you don't have any good relationships with any of the people around you, how are you supposed to be happy? How are you supposed to be happy if, due to your own behavior, no one around you likes you, and you don't like them either because of your perceptions of them? Like, I personally cannot see a person in that situation which I just described being happy. Of course, there are people who live in toxic situations, you can say, where there are a lot of what you can call toxic people around them, and those people should try to get out of those situations if they can, because you can't change everybody. You can't. People have to want to change in order for them to really change most of the time. But that's not here nor there. Okay, I haven't read this article before. Let's jump into it. IQ and Success by IQbrain.com. Test your IQ. Okay, so I guess they're going to probably say that IQ is pretty important. So this might be biased. Let's see. The link between IQ and success is clear. How do you define success? The Oxford English Dictionary defines success as the accomplishment on an aim or purpose. I feel like this grammar is not perfect in this, even this first few sentences. I'm not sure though. Although I adhere to capitalistic principles, I also recognize that monetary success may not be what everyone aspires to. Artists such as Rodriguez was clearly not interested in financial pursuits or a life of luxury. His success and happiness lied in performing and making audiences happy with his music. Shifting gears, a Russian mathematician, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Okay. For the vast majority of us, it is probably fair to say that most people will define success in financial and professional terms. Establishing a link between IQ and success is probably best done by looking at IQ scores for different categories of workers. Oh, that's interesting. But you don't need a scientific study to see the link between IQ and success. It would be difficult to argue that a security guard is more successful than a medical doctor, for instance. And clearly becoming a medical doctor is much harder than becoming a security guard. It makes a good point here with regards to that. The more cognitively difficult a certain profession is, the more beneficial having a higher IQ would help to become successful in that career. But on the flip side, it can be argued that with perseverance and dedication, that somebody even with a below average IQ can achieve the same thing. See, I don't actually know too much about this, and I think it depends on the situation and the context. Absolutely, because no two situations are the same. But yeah, let's continue here. In other words, becoming a doctor requires a higher IQ and certainly much more effort. Turning to the academic literature for confirmation, the link between IQ and success is clear. Adult professionals in the United States earn Wechsler scale IQ scores that are on average 25 points higher than those earned by unskilled laborers. And this is when it says adult professionals here, I think it's referring to doctors, and the doctors having on average 25 IQ points higher than those of unskilled laborers. Interestingly, the children of professionals also have average IQs that are 21 points higher than those of unskilled laborers. So not only is there a link between IQ and success, but this type of link appears to be hereditary, or at least perpetuated by the environment created by individuals with more highly skilled professionals and therefore living standards. Now, I've heard that IQ scores have a 14% correlation with life outcomes, like 14% positive correlation, but 14% is still not a very high amount, and I think that attitude is, and perception, and basically your belief system is far more important, and also your emotional intelligence and your what was the other thing? Your social skills. I think they're far more important. Okay. IQ and success. Source: IQ Testing 101 by Alan S. Kaufman. Okay, labor group. So it's divided into labor group, adults, and children. So for professionals and technical, the average IQ of adults was 112, and their children was 108. For managers / administration, the average IQ is 104, and the average IQ of their children is 103. For either clerical work or for crafts work, the average IQ is 101, and the average IQ of their children is 100. For semi-skilled workers, the average IQ is 92, and the average IQ of their children is 96. For unskilled workers, the average IQ is 87, and the average IQ of their children is 87. Okay, so it appears that this article is now arguing the opposite point of this article. Which one is correct? Now that's I guess that's still up for debate, and doesn't look like we'll reach a conclusion anytime soon. This is probably going to be an argument that will be extended into the future. But personally, I think that limiting yourself because of your IQ level, unless it's unfortunately very low, as long as it's not very low, I think that somebody will be limiting themselves greatly based on their IQ level. Now, I could be biased in my perspective because I'm not going to say that I'm a genius. I'm definitely not a genius. I'm not. I think that I am a little bit higher than average IQ because I've taken some IQ tests online, you feel me? Like, they're not perfectly accurate or whatever, but, you know, I could be biased because it's hard for me to put myself into somebody else's shoes who wouldn't do so well on the same test. And it's easy for me to say that I think that attitude is way more important when it comes to life success, because I'm not in that situation. But in general, it definitely is far more important, regardless of what your IQ is. Like, depending on your attitude for life is gonna affect what kind of life you have more than what your IQ is, and how well you can socialize with the people around you, and how well you can understand their emotions and recognize your own emotions, why you feel your emotions. You can emotionally regulate yourself to a good degree. When you can what was the other thing? Well, I don't know. But if you can be pleasant to the people around you and they enjoy having you around, and vice versa, then you're going to have a good life. You're going to have good relationships and all of that. So that's what I'll close with. I guess I'll ask you to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, because I need some subscribers. Peace.